All right. How do I record my podcast? It sounds super basic, but you can have all this great equipment. At least I think it's great equipment and all this stuff. And you're like, wait, how do I actually record the thing? How does that work? And we touched on it very briefly a couple days ago, but I want to make sure that you guys get the insight that you need as much as possible. For your audio podcast, I cannot recommend enough Riverside.fm. How it works is that, number one, it's based completely in the website. So I've been a guest on dozens of podcasts, probably more than that at this point, but many, many different podcasts. I can tell the difference between the earlier days before Riverside, before people started really rocking with Riverside, and now. Now when I get a request or I ask to be on a podcast, they're like, great, here's the link. I click on the link, they make sure my mic is right, and we're off to the races. Back in the day, and you old school and OG podcasters know, back in the day, it was a process. Sometimes the people that you were podcasting with had to get their own individual thing, and you had to make sure their mic was right, but you couldn't do that because you were remote. Riverside FM takes care of that. The first thing it does is that it's completely within the website. So I usually use Chrome, so Google Chrome to do it. It does not work with Safari, which is my favorite browser. No endorsement, just happens to be what I like. And so it doesn't work that well with Safari, which is kind of standard with the Apple computers, which is what I tend to lean towards. It works really well with Google Chrome. I believe it works with Opera as well, which is my second choice for a web browser. But you click on there, you give that link to whoever you're going to have on your podcast, and then you're good to go. So that's one. This sounds simple, but it can get really complex. The people that you're having on your podcast show don't need to call in a phone number and all that. They can do it right on their computer with the mic. Fantastic. Again, I've been on both sides of that. The second thing is that it separates all the audio. And so if my mic sounds just okay, and then you as a podcast host, your mic is like a professional mic, like one of those $1,000 joints, then if it was all recorded in one audio take, then there's no way you could fix my audio because it's tied to your audio. So if my audio was low and yours was super, even normal, if you turn up my audio, your audio is going to be jacked up. And of course, vice versa. Riverside works really well because it separates all the audio, and if I'm terming it correctly, it records them locally. Now, not actually on the person that you're interviewing, not on their computer locally, but as a local file. That's saved, and then as a podcast host, you get access to all of it. And so if there's background noise, there's always construction happening here in Vegas. So if there's background noise or other stuff happening, then you're able to push that out, but then you're also able to keep the power of your own audio. Again, like you hear I'm getting closer now, those things can really affect how a podcast sounds. If you're having a challenge with those particular types of things, it's really hard to fix them, what they call post-production. It's really hard to do that. Riverside actually helps a lot with that, where it separates those things out. And now I think they also have, I just was reading, they have AI functions that allow you to separate different sounds. So again, if there's construction, I don't live that far from the strip, there's always construction in that general area. So if there's noise outside of my office, then you might be able to adjust those levels, again, without jacking up the entire audio track, which includes other people that are in your podcast. Really, really important stuff. This is a special link. I think you guys get a month or two free, something like that, but there is a bonus involved in it. Be sure and check it out if you're looking to focus on the audio side of podcasting. Again, on the audio side, that means you don't have video involved in it. If you're going to be doing the more modern wave, where with the aforementioned ones, with Earn Your Leisure or Rich Roll and other folks like that, obviously Joe Rogan and Tim Ferriss, Joe Budden, shout out to him. If you're doing that, that means you're also going to have a video component. And when a lot of the podcasts that you know of the most now that are doing quote unquote really well, or they have a name brand, they usually are doing the audio and they're connected with Spotify or Audible has podcasts now. Apple, I think, has some exclusive podcasts. ACX, which I think is connected to Audible. It has some, like, it just keeps going and going. That's fine. The new wave, though, and I'd say, and I talk about this again, I'll throw it back up here with the great conversation I had with James Oliver. I talk all about this. So be sure and check out the link if you want to go deeper into this, because we have a great 5-10 minute conversation just about this. A lot of the podcasters who were just audio before are now doing video. It doesn't have to be fancy, but it's just literally a camera recording you and then whomever your guest is. You can get as fancy as you want. You can do editing and all that other stuff. So in some ways, the BringYourWorth.tv, this show is a podcast. This was not my intention. My intention was to create a TV show I think I have. But with so many formats of the modern podcasting going into video, this has turned into almost like a video podcast. Again, like I talked about, particularly with these live shows, where if you guys have questions, throw them in right now. It's live. Like, there's questions right here. I am here in the flesh. That energy is different than a recorded show. Streamyard is my favorite option at this moment for doing live streaming. In fact, I'm using, to get meta for a second, not Zuckerberg, but meta as in the, the dictionary definition. I'm actually using Streamyard right now to talk to you right now. It works out really well. The basic format will get you to a couple different platforms. It's, once you understand the system, it's relatively easy to stream your stuff. And there's different ways that you can adjust the levels and even bring guests in. I think with the basic program, you can bring like 8 guests in, which, as I said the other day, unless you're bringing in Wu-Tang, you're probably not going to need eight mics. But if you need them, I think it's like 4 to 8 mics you can put in just in the basic plan. What I love about StreamYard and why I work with StreamYard, as well as the next platform I'm going to talk about. Next platform is called Restream. If you wanted some other options, we'll talk about that in a moment. Is that you can stream once and then give it to a bunch of different places. So I'm talking to you right now. I think I talked about that at the top of the show. Right now, this is streaming live to BringYourWorth.tv, which the current hub is at youtube.com/BrownDamon. So it's going to YouTube Live. It's going to my LinkedIn page. So if you go to my LinkedIn page, or if you're connected with me on LinkedIn, there'll be a live button. It's going there too. And then shout out to y'all over on Amazon, which I'm connecting y'all through my iPad I got on the side here. And so you can put comments in there. It's all streaming through StreamYard. So if you're used to saying, I'm going to go live on this platform, and that's all I'm going to do, you have options now. I'm not on Facebook anymore, but Facebook Live is an option. I'm not as active on Instagram anymore, but Instagram Live, I believe, is an option now. I think they're working on getting TikTok Live as an option. And so the days of you saying, I'm going to go live on Instagram, let me do that, and then maybe I'll go live on Facebook later, those days are coming to a close. StreamYard is part of that wave. Definitely check it out. There's another link where you have some type of bonus involved. I try not to get too committal on those things because those things change all the time, but there's definitely a bonus involved for y'all if you click on there and you want to check it out. The second option when it comes to live broadcasts, again, if you're doing less of the recorded podcasts, even though it does work with recorded podcasts, I'm going to be clear about that. You can pre-record these things. There's a conversation I had with Jonathan Fields, shout out to you, who did the book Sparked over here. And there's a live conversation I have with Cal Newport, who did the excellent book, A World Without Email. And he's known for the book Deep Focus. All those links are available at BringYourWorth.tv. You'll see the search for it. All those conversations were done through some format of StreamYard and or recording. So you can actually pre-record things too. If it's, again, I respect Cal as well as Jonathan a lot. So I didn't want to have them on live and then like the interview go crazy. I wanted to make sure that the interview was solid. Let's have a conversation and then, and then I'll go ahead and edit it as we need to edit it. You can do that within both these platforms too. Another option is Restream. So we have StreamYard and we have Restream. These are the two leaders in this space. That's why I'm recommending them. Restream is very, very similar. One of the advantages of Restream, though, is that they're way more generous, I found, with their basic platform, basic plan, basic as in free. So some of the things that are behind the wall for Streamyard, and I'm pro Streamyard as far as like, not that I'm pro Streamyard, but I'm actually part of their professional plan. So I already pay for it anyway, so I don't see that. But if you're new to things, so starting out with Restream is fine too, because there's certain things that are behind the wall for Streamyard that I pay for that are actually free with Restream. I think it has to do with the amount of platforms you go to at once. For Streamyard, I think you can do 2 platforms at once for free. And I think for Restream, as of this recording, I think you can do 4 or 5 platforms. So let's say you wanted to be on Amazon Live, which you guys should check out. Maybe I'll do a future episode about the opportunities with Amazon Live. You could be on Amazon Live. You could be on, let's say, TikTok. You could be on Instagram. You can be on Facebook. And you could be on LinkedIn. If you need to be on multiple platforms at once, like a lot of them, then Restream, as far as a bargain, might be the way to start. The platforms are very similar. Shout out to Anya over at Restream and Gage over at Streamyard. They both have been excellent with their customer service. I've talked with a couple of them. They're great. They're great. You can't go wrong with either one. Hopefully that gets y'all to the next level. Excuse me. We're talking about the best podcast software. What are y'all curious about? What are you guys kind of dealing with? What are kind of the challenges as far as with software and things of that nature when it comes to getting your podcast off the ground? How can I get you guys prepared to have a successful podcast in the upcoming year? Drop a line below. Let me know any questions that you got as far as the podcast.